coming. My name is, where should I stand to not cover it? My name is Damian. I'm a security researcher and consultant in a securing company. And actually, I was going to be here last year, but I couldn't manage it because of COVID, of course. And there is my presentation from last year if you're interested. And today, I'm going to talk as a researcher. And to be a researcher, you have to go and make some research, do some research. So this presentation is a brief story of my research. I'm gonna show you how I do research and how you could do the security research if you are interested in that. So to start, the most important thing when you're studying research is to define the scope, because if you do not define narrow enough scope, you're gonna do your research for a long time. And ideally you'd like to finish it so that you can present it next year, right? So it's important to define what you wanna focus on, where to start, what kind of contracts you want to check, what kind of functionalities you'd like to check. And this will allow you to focus on the specifics and finish your research in a reasonable time. And after you do good scoping, it doesn't mean that you'll have no distractors, right? So I'll also show you a few examples of distractors and how to handle them, because if you have too many distractors and if you follow all of them, again, your research is like gone because you're not going to finish it. And sometimes those distractors end up with pivoting, which is nothing bad. But if you do too much pivotings, again, you're not going to finish your research. So I started with initial scoping, because the DeFi applications consist of many components, and you can think of the infrastructure, which are the nodes. Then you have the DeFi application, which has a front-end application, which is usually JavaScript, and back-end applications, which are always smart contracts and also sometimes other web applications like bots which monitor your application and just call some functions if needed. And I didn't want to go to do research with the node because I have not much experience about low-level code like Go or C or whatever. I didn't also want to go with web applications, either front-end or back-end, because I've been doing it for years and I just wanted to try something else. And that's why I ended up with Ethereum smart contracts. I mean, not Ethereum, but EVM-based smart contracts. And what's great about that is that you're not limited only to Ethereum, because you actually can check smart contracts on different chains like Polygon or even Binance Smart Chain, right? So it's still huge scope, right? It's not yet finished. I haven't yet finished scoping, and I was looking for some inspirations for the research. And one source of the inspiration for me are the audits for clients. And we had a situation, we had a client that was deploying a token with a pre-sale functionality, which is quite common, right? Some kind of crowd sale. And in the token itself, you could buy their tokens in the token contract. You could buy their 10,000 tokens for 1 Ether. And then they planned to deploy the Uniswap pool, where the initial price would be 9,000 Ether, not 9,000. You would get 9,000 tokens for 1 Ether. So if they don't stop the pre-sale, I could easily buy 10 tokens for 1 Ether on their contract and then sell them for more than 1 Ether on the Uniswap pool. Fortunately, our client was safe here because they managed to stop the crowd sale before they launched the pool. But, well, it's a good idea for research, right? So are there any other projects that have the same situation? They have crowd sale or pre-sale, and they have a Uniswap pool. And maybe they forgot to finish their pre-sale. So the idea was to look for tokens that have both Uniswap pool, and that's easy, you can check it on CoinMarketCap easily, and also that have crowd sale. And that was hard to find for me. And also you can think of the possibility of success, because sometimes you think like it's pointless to check that. I'm sure that most or all the projects have finished their crowd sale before they deploy the pool, right? But still, if you are doing research, expect unexpected. If you do not check it, you will not be sure, right? And I'll show you that you should check all those assumptions that look very less possible. So let's find these tokens. I'm ready for my research now. And here comes the first distractor, because I was looking for the tokens with crowd sale, and it was quite hard because there's no like place where you have a list of them. I was referred to the Blocksy info by BigQuery. However, and also they had that token sale list. That was the place I was looking for. But unfortunately, it stopped working. It wasn't working. So now, after some time, I also know that they have a tool called GraphQL, also by BigQuery, which is cool, and probably that could solve my problem back then. But I just was trying to play with Blocksy and try to find a way to make it to work it. I just played with some HTTP requests, and doesn't matter really, because I came upon an address which was called a dice game. So some kind of game with randomness. Sounds nice, so let's play this game. And also there was 2 ethers on this contract. And the third thing was that it was 2 years old, so like quite old contract, right? So I thought that we should check how do they handle randomness, which is not a trivial problem in Ethereum, right? So actually, they had that function called bet by ETH. Can you see it? Okay. And they used, as the seed, they used a function that did some hash operations on the block timestamp, block difficulty, message sender, and some private key, which, yeah, that sounds weird if you have a private key in the contract. But it doesn't matter here. What's important is that it doesn't change. The private key is constant here. I don't even know what's its value. But what's nice for me as a player here is that this function is public. So actually, I can use their function to get their winning number that they use to check whether I won. So this is the times when you want to go deeper and check this. So it was not that easy. It was not only one contract, that there were 3 contracts, Citizen, Dice Game, and Token. You had to play, you had to first register, then you could play, and if you win, they pay out through the token contract. So, and how do they calculate the price? You bet a number, like in this example, I bet 60, and the numbers are from 0 to 100. So I bet 60, and I'm saying that my number will be higher than your number, your random number. So the random number was 30 in this example. So what they do, they take the amount that you bet, they multiply it by almost 100, it's 98.5 here, and divide it by your number. So here in this example, I would win 1.64, but if I bet 31, and say that it will be higher, I would earn much more, right? Twice more, almost twice more. So if you know the number, if you know that it will be 30, you can easily find the number that's the best, that gives you the best outcome. So this was my contract I used to play this game. And what's important here is that I'm just using their function and do the modulo 100 because that's what they do to get the winning number. And some additional stuff, I wanted to control how much I can win here. So it doesn't really matter, but I just call their function to get my reward, right? But it's quite hard to play in dark forest because you can be front run, your code can just not work, right? And it's quite costly. That time when I was playing that, the gas price was like 150, something like that, which was quite huge. So to deploy my contract, I had to pay $150 in dollars, and to one play cost me like $60. So I wanted to make sure that it works, right? And that's why you wanna do your own dark forest, which you would call light forest, because it's owned by you. And what I mean here is the mainnet forking. So the mainnet forking allows you to take the current state of the mainnet and like transfer it to your local node. It's not even node, your local environment. And all other operations that you do, you are doing locally, and but on the current state of mainnet. So you are that's why it's fork, right? And it costs you nothing, because it's local. You'll lose everything after you finish, but it doesn't matter. I just want to make sure whether it works for now. You can easily achieve that using Hard Hat and, for example, Alchemy.io, where you just define the network and start it as a mainnet fork. You write your code. So I deployed my attacker code. I just call make citizen function, which registers in the citizen contract. Then I call my function that I showed you before to play to get my reward. And also you have to remember, if you are playing through a contract, you must remember to implement a function that will allow you to withdraw the price from your contract. Because if you forget that, you will win, but it will be locked in your contract, and you'll have no control over this Ether or any other token. And you just simply run it like you run tests in Hard Hat. And what's cool about mainnet forking is that you have additional features that you do not have, of course, in mainnet, like impersonating a particular address, so you can like become anyone in your mainnet fork. Or even just changing some storage in any contract you want. I wish I could that on mainnet, right? And also, this works not only for Hard Hat, it works also for Brownie and Ganesh. So this was the first destructor, which was fun and gave some profit after I told you that there were 2 Ethers there on this contract. However, it cost me some. But also there was a limit, so you couldn't win those 2 Ethers. And that's why it was a good idea to run the test locally on mainnet fork, because I just realized that during testing, right? And well, there is a question, open question, whether it's still gaming. Did I just play the game according to the rules, or is it hacking? Because I just tried to obey some rules, right? Actually, I don't know the answer to this question, so if you know the owner of this address, who is the deployer of that game, just let me know. We'll make sure that it's the person, just, sign a message using this address, and I'll give it back. I'll give the reward back. All right, so that was fun. That was some profit, but I need to go back to my research, because I haven't even started it, right? So I just did some scoping. And here comes the second destructor. That was the time when, have you heard about Sparta protocol? It's on Binance Smart Chain, so probably most of you haven't heard about that. But that was the day, or a few days later, where Sparta protocol was hacked. And they lost like $30 million because of some improper shares calculation and using like imbalanced pool via flash loan and so on and so on. So I was like, my research is not going very well because I still don't know how to get those tokens, the crowd sale tokens, so maybe I'll have a quick peek here and check how their token look like. So I want to still be like within the scope, so I want to check what are the transfer functions, what are the mint and burn functions in their token. So, and look for some interesting stuff. And I found, an interesting function called transfer2. Can you see it from back there? Can you see the code here? Cool. Okay, so as you can see, it's not transfer, it's not the typical function. It's a transfer2 function. And what they use TX origin. So actually, and also this is public. So basically, if you allow, if somebody calls your contract and you call this function, you can transfer all Sparta tokens on the behalf of the sender, right? So you can steal their function, steal their tokens. And the first question was actually, why did they use it? And to be honest, I don't know. I suppose they use it to omit the approve and transfer requirement, right? So they didn't have to call firstly approve and then transfer. They can easily make their users transfer the Sparta tokens with this function. Because look here, so there is a function remove liquidity, whatever. When the user calls it, they call the transfer to function on the pool, because pool also had this function, and the user would send these units to the pool on behalf of the user. So user didn't have to approve it, right? Quite risky, and actually it is risky, because are you thinking about any possible scenario here? So how can we steal those tokens? How can we steal the Sparta tokens from users? The first, yeah?
I mean, you can trick them to send a transaction to a contract that you set up.
Exactly, that's the first. Yeah, so the idea was to make, actually the idea was like this one, right? Make people call your contract, the people who has some Sparta tokens, right? To call your contract and then transfer their contract within your contract, right? So from your contract, you are calling this transfer to. And however, this is first too hard because I have to convince people, so I have to do some kind of phishing campaign or just, you know, do it any other way. But still, that takes some time, and it's costly. And also, if somebody checks out my code, because you want to verify your code, right? So if somebody checks my code, they will see that there is a backdoor there, right? So it's not that, it's not the best idea to attack those people. However, we can make some exchanges, like ATM machines. We can like get money from exchanges like that. I mean, of course, in terms of Sparta token, because what you would do, you would simply ask the exchange to withdraw your BNB, because it's on Binance Smart Chain, to withdraw BNB, right? And exchange is fine with that, because people are withdrawing BNB, and you tell, withdraw this BNB to my contract, to my address, which is a contract. So exchange makes this transaction to my contract address, and then in the receive function or fallback function, whatever you call it, I say also, by the way, don't forget to send me all your Sparta tokens, right? So I'm calling the transfer function on behalf of the exchange. And there are two limitations here. First, the exchange has to keep and use the same address to withdraw both BNB and Sparta, right? Because they have to have Sparta on their BNB address. And the second one is they have to give enough gas limit for this transaction to allow me to call the transfer to function. And I ended up with three exchanges that met the requirements. And it's quite easy to find the exchanges, right? You go to the Etherscan or BSC scan and check the holders tab, and you see those big holders there. These are probably exchanges. And if they keep both BNB and other token or multiple tokens, that's for sure exchange or some whale. So I found three. And have you seen the movie Good, Bad, and Ugly? It was exactly the same here. There was a good, bad, and ugly exchange. The good one was like, when I contacted them, they responded very quickly. They transferred all the Sparta tokens to another contract so that they do not use the same contract to withdraw both BNB and Sparta. And also they responded fast, they checked that, and they gave bounty. And the bad one was, yeah? Sorry? I would say no. You should avoid it. Yeah, it's deprecated, and also they will change it. They have already changed it. The second one, the bad one, was the one that said, it's not our problem, it's Sparta bug, so we don't care. But they transferred all the Sparta tokens to another contract. So they were at risk, but they didn't give a, And the ugly one was the one that didn't even respond. So probably they might be still at risk. But then I also contacted Sparta team, of course. So they were after the first hack. So they were migrating to the new version of their token, and in the new version they removed the takes origin. So it was not, it was not the case anymore. Okay, so the summary of this destructor was the first, that I was surprised that there is TX origin in use still. Also, it was fun to create this exploit and check, the time when you see on the mainnet fork that it works, you're like, you're having great time. And also, nice profit in form of bounty. And the other thing was that I had another idea for the research. I just, ended up the first one because I couldn't find those tokens. And I actually pivoted the research that was not yet started, right? So idea was, the change was that I want to focus on the tokens that I can easily find. So I took the tokens listed on big exchanges. I took the list from CoinMarketCap for Binance and for Coinbase. And I want to quickly check, I don't want to focus a lot, spend a lot of time on them. I want to quickly check the most important functions. How do they transfer, how do they mint, and how do they burn tokens? I had, of course, some doubts, because if you want to be listed on Coinbase or Binance, you probably have to be audited, right? So, and not only once. So probably I will not find nothing, but as I said before, expect unexpected, and of course, if I didn't find nothing, if I didn't find something, I wouldn't be here. So, and also distractors. There were two already before I start. So no more distractors. If you find something interesting, write it down for later and come back to it later. You can end up, after first research, you can end up with many ideas for another researchers. Okay, so I selected 40 tokens from Binance and 30 from Coinbase. 21 of them were not EVM based, so I just didn't check them. And the rest, almost the rest, were fine. There were two with some findings, and that's because you have all those OpenZeppelin implementations. So the rest was mainly the implementation of OpenZeppelin ERC20. So there were two quite interesting findings, excluding Sparta, of course. The first one was the band token, where they had an interesting function called transfer and call. This function is actually quite common, but not in this form, because here the transfer and call function is the function where you first transfer and then call some function on the receiver. If you are familiar with 1155, as far as I remember, they have that on received function. But in this case, I could control the signature of the function. So actually, I could make the band token to call any contract, any function. The only limitation was there had to be at least two parameters, where the first one was the address and the second one was the value. So it was address and it was in 256. So again, we have some findings, some interesting findings. Now you can think we have to change our mindset to the attacker and think of any possible threats here. And there might be more. So if you have an idea, you can let me know, or you can just do the research on your own. But when I looked at their code, they had some other tokens. This is the contract of the token, of the band token. And as you can see, they had some, and actually they still have some Sora token. At the day when I was creating this, the Sora token was 193, and the band was $6. Now it's much less, of course, because it's going down lately. But still, what you can do here is that you can call the transfer and call function to transfer about 11 band tokens to the Sora contract. Sora token contract and call on behalf of Band token the transfer function on Sora token to transfer these Sora tokens to you. Okay, so basically I lose 11 Band tokens because I send them to the Sora token contract, but Band token gives me back 11 Sora tokens, and which are worth much more. So actually you can easily that's the whole exploit for that. And actually, I didn't even call that, right? So it's still there. If you want, you can do it. Because I contacted the Band token team, and then they told me that, okay, thanks, that's not a big deal. We'll send it back to someone who sent those Sora tokens to them. And when I was preparing this presentation a few days ago, I looked there because I wanted to know what's the price now, and I was like, it's still there. So I'm not touching that, but this is the code that you can use. You just need to get some Band tokens. This is the code you can use. Yeah, you're taking pictures. We'll see who's first. Watch out who's leaving the room. Okay, so this is the code. Sorry. This is the code that you can use to get 11 Sora tokens. So easily, like $1,500 are there on the table. Okay. So this is what the first finding. The second one was even more interesting because this was in the teller token. I was looking, as I told you, for some custom logic, right? So they had that do transfer. Oh, I'm pointing here. They had that do transfer function where they had this was simply called by the transfer function, right? So you can think of like this is the transfer function. So they had two requires, which are completely fine. And there was another one quite interesting. So this is the function allowed to trade, which is on the other side. And they had a special case. This part is fine. If you have more than you want to send, it's cool. However, there was a special case when you have some kind of, I have no idea what that is yet, right? I'm just looking at the code. I'm just reading the code, the names and the numbers. So if you are not 0 status and it's below 5, then there is a special case because you have to actually have more than just the amount you want to send. And there is a quite easy to spot bug here. And here's the hint. I'm not sure if you can see it, but the hint is it's below 0.8 version, the solidity. Can you see the bug? Anyone? All right, so, yeah? It's one word. Almost. It's underflow, but yeah, they are like almost the same. There is an underflow in here. Right? So if your balance is smaller than the stake amount, and stake amount is 500 token, you have underflow here, and your amount is like for sure much bigger than the amount you want to send, right? And there is no additional requires for that. So if you manage to actually get to meet two requirements, you are able to get all the tokens, right? And the first one was that you have to change your current status. So, yeah, the first one. And the second one, you have to make your balance below 500 because this is the stake amount. And this one was quite hard to find first. But let's start with the first one. And as I told you, I have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I haven't checked the code like from scratch to, from end to end. I don't know what's the business goal and so on. So, but I can read the code, right? So I found the code, the function deposit stake, which changes the current status. Okay, first, of course, I check it on the mainnet fork locally, and it works. Cool, I have met the first requirement. But now, the problem is that from now on, you have to become a staker, because that's what's going on here. You have to have at least stake amount tokens. That has to be your balance, right? And from now on, they check whether you have more tokens. So if you want to send 10 tokens, you have to have 510 tokens at least. right? So this was the second requirement. I need to make my balance below 500. And you can do it by burning your tokens, right? So there's another function, it's called @tip, where you basically tip somebody, I have no idea whom and why, but what's important here is that I burn some of my tokens, right? So I can make my balance below 500. Yeah, and actually, if you understand that, if you find those functions that let you meet these requirements, the exploit is quite easy because you just need to. Here I just get some tokens to be able to call the deposit stake. So I had to have more than 500. So then the real attack starts here. I just call the deposit stake to make my current status equal to 1, and then I call @tip. I tip somebody with ID 1, whoever it is, and I tip them with 2 tokens so that my balance is 499 now. And then I do some transfer, any transfer for any amount, just to make sure that the underflow happens and updates my balance, right? And after I do it, my balance is like huge. I should probably show it here so that you can see how huge that is, but it's of course close to the maximum of U into 56, right? All right, so after I found it, after I proved the correctness of my exploit on the mainnet, on the mainnet fork, of course, I contacted the team and on Telegram, and that's how how to find the team. Sometimes you can call them on their Telegram, but none of them, not all of them are very responsive, and you have to find somebody who's in charge for security in this project, if there is somebody. And it's good to be on so sorry again for that. And I got the bounty from the team, so cool, right? Again, fun and profit. So to sum up the research, if you are thinking of doing research, do it. Try it. You may not be successful, but it's always at least fun and knowledge, and I'm sure from time to time, and it will get more often, it's also a profit. But it's important to do the scoping, to finish it in a reasonable time, and do not get distracted much. And if you are looking for inspirations, this was the case when the inspiration came from first the audit. You do not have to be auditor. You can just try to audit by yourself some project without their permission, because you are not touching their mainnet contracts. So you can play being an auditor just to look for some inspiration. Or you can read about hacks. They give also nice inspirations. Or maybe presentations like this one. The first idea for research was not finished, was not started even. So maybe you wanna try that. If you do that, let me know. So I'm sure that I'm not gonna follow that again. Okay, and don't be afraid of so-called impossible research ideas. Just check it. Check it as in the laziest way you can. Do not spend a lot of time. Just check if you can easily find it or something. Yeah, but now, who of you is a developer? Yeah, there's plenty of you. Cool. So it's not like I want to be somebody who's looking for bugs in the deployed contracts and ruin your holiday or something. I want to give something to developers to not be the victim of such research. So how not to be the victim of the research like this? Yeah, first of all, audits. I know. Everybody knows that, right? And it's not very easy to get one. The other one is also quite important and quite common. The tools that you should integrate in your CI/CD. There is plenty of them, and they are open source, so why not using them? But what is most important, in my opinion, is shifting left. So what you should do as a team, as a dev team, or as a team as a whole, you should start thinking about security, start doing security as fast as you can. You have an idea, you have your documentation, start doing security review. You do not need code to start to do security reviews. You can check out the ideas that you have. You should, before you start even implementing your project, you should do threat modeling so that you can identify potential threats. You can identify those threat actors who can attack you, how they can attack you, and I mean what they were looking for, probably for your token or any other asset that is worth a lot. And think of change your mindset to the attacker, and you can do it actually internally in your team. You can just there's nobody else who knows your project better than you, right? So you can think of the possible abuser stories, that's what we call them, because if I'm sure all of you have those unit tests when you check whether everything is functioning correctly, right? So do the other part of unit tests when you are implementing the abuser stories. So how somebody would like to attack us, right? And they may not be successful, but they may become successful after you add some functionality to your project, right? So do not think only about the optimistic flow. Remember about the attacker's flow. And also use the security checklist. And if we are talking about security checklists, I would like you to show to you our SCSVS, which we call Smart Contract Security Verification Standard. It's an open sourced checklist, security checklist for developers and for auditors and for architects as well. We try to cover the whole SDLC from design phase and not finishing on the implementation, but also during the maintenance of your project, right? So it covers both technical and business needs. If you're in business in your protocol, you want to know what's red and what's green, right? You don't want to go into the code, you don't want to check the code, you don't care about the code, you just want to be sure that your project is secure. So this could be also useful for business so that they know how many reds we have and we should take care of. Also, we have ready-to-use spreadsheets for that. So you can find them over here, or just simply contact me on Twitter or via email or LinkedIn, whatever, Telegram. My Telegram handle is the same as Twitter's handle, so you can find me also on Telegram. So thank you. Yeah, 37 minutes, I made it. Are there any questions? Yes?
Just wait the microphone.
I can repeat the question.
Just how long did it take you overall, like your research like this?
Actually, I'm quite lazy, so it took like a month, but I was doing audits on the daily basis, so if you sum up, it would be like 2 or maybe 3 weeks. Not that long. If you define the scope correctly, I mean, if you very narrow it, it's, of course, you cannot find anything, but still, you do it very quickly, so you can have another idea later. Okay?
Have you heard about a project called the Securium? It's a bootcamp for contract auditing and security.
Yeah, there are a few bootcamps coming, I guess. At least I've heard about 3 at least. So yeah, I've heard about it. If you wanna start doing some security, I think, and you're like on the entry level, I mean, you're not very familiar with this security stuff yet, I think that's, yeah, it's good to try. It wasn't done before, so I have no any experience with that. I don't know whether it's good or bad, so I cannot recommend it or not recommend it, but I think it's worth a go. And those are free, I guess. Now you have to ask. All right, so I see no more questions, so thank you again.